Hi there. It's October the 6th, and we're continuing our journey through the book of Jeremiah. In Hebrew, his name is Yirmiyahu, it means God promotes. And we are at chapter 6, and we're going from verse 16 through to chapter 8 and verse 7. At the beginning of our reading, God says, "Ask for the old ways." The prophet calls on the people to return, because in those they will find the answers to the problems that they're facing. But God says, but you won't. There will not be a return, because they're so hard-necked, they're so hard-hearted, they won't turn around. And so there's going to be turmoil in society, there's going to be turmoil in the family, and there's going to be enemies coming from without. The prophet calls for the people to put on sackcloth, to weep and to mourn, because there's coming a time when they're going to be cast off, like the dross from silver that's left when silver is refined. Then in chapter 7, Jeremiah stands at the gates of the temple as people are going into the temple to worship, and he said, "Don't look to this place to defend you. You're going to your religious exercises, you're going through the religious motions, but what good are they if you are not obeying what God says, if you're not going to walk in God's ways?" He says it's become like a den of robbers, it's become like a den of thieves. And actually Jeremiah compares, the Lord through Jeremiah compares the temple to the old tabernacle at Shiloh, which the priesthood came to an end and the whole thing collapsed because of the unrighteousness that there was in Israel. And so the prophet says that this fate of Shiloh, this thing that happened to the old tabernacle, is going to come about in the temple. Also Israel's fate is going to come on them, just as Ephraim, it says, and Ephraim is another name for Israel here, just the way that Ephraim has gone is going to be the way that Jerusalem goes. And Jerusalem has actually brought this on herself, because the people of Jerusalem are making sacrifices to idols. They are worshipping the Queen of Heaven, it's called, which is Astarte. They're covered in shame, and destruction is coming. God has called for obedience, but they haven't listened, and they've polluted the temple itself with idols. They've built idol shrines in Tophet and Hinnom, places around Jerusalem, and therefore there's going to be a taking away of their joy. They're going to find themselves in terrible straits and terrible circumstances. In chapter 8 it gets even worse, because the tombs are going to be desecrated. The tombs of kings and prophets are going to be desecrated, and the bones are going to be strewn across the city. And they could have come back to God, they could have repented, they could have turned around, but they refused. And in the last couple of verses of our reading, it says, "The birds know the seasons, the birds know when to migrate, the birds know their times, but why have the people not understood God? Why have they refused to listen to God?" It's a sorry tale, this unfolding of Jeremiah's prophecy, of Jeremiah's words to Jerusalem. But we see here still God is giving them a chance. Still God is saying, I want you to return. My purpose is not to punish you. My purpose is to have you come back. But you are pursuing the wrong answers. You're pursuing these dead ends which will lead you nowhere. We need to constantly be checking our hearts before the Lord, because there are many things which would pull us away from him, which would ask for our obedience, which would ask for our allegiance, and we need to be constantly saying, I only will follow the Lord. I will have my ears open. I will be wholehearted for him. Have a very good October the 6th.